How's it going, everybody? Doing a gum chewing impressions vid here today of Final Fantasy VII Remake. This came out in 2020. I talked about this in the video I put up yesterday. The eating Doritos and drunk review. The most amount of time I ever put into this, the PlayStation original one. I got past the first boss and that first part of the game. When you start off, that first mech, kind of big mech. I might have played a little bit after, but I can't really remember. I didn't have it when I was a kid. I had the N64. I didn't come across the PlayStation until the first PlayStation I actually owned was 05. And like I said, the only time I played that far into it was when I downloaded off the PSN on the PS3 back in 07 or 08. It might have been something like that. And I've put a little bit of time into it, like those first few battles, a few times too, but I had picked this up for $20 a while back. Not a while back, but when I first got the PS4, last month. And I started playing it on, I don't know if it was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday night I started playing. I want to say I put about 8 or 9 hours into it. I've been screwing around, in the slums part. Did a lot of kind of little other things you can do in there. This game, obviously, this is Cloud Strife. I know a lot of people look at it, not necessarily this version of it, but the original PlayStation version. People love it. It's their some people, it's their favorite game of all time. We start as him. He's an ex-soldier, and then you're in the beginning. It starts off with that part when you get off at the train with what's the one guy's name? Barrett Wilson, the dude with the machine, the Gatling gun. His one arm is half his arm is a Gatling gun. Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. Biggs and Wedge. That's funny because I know they did that on purpose. They have the Star Wars characters. They first did that in Final Fantasy 6 or 3, but 6 here, the one before 7. There was Biggs and Wedge were in the beginning of that when you're with Terra, I think, in the beginning. I don't know if there's any other Final Fantasies other than these two that use the two of them, those two names from Star Wars, but they're there. And you're on a mission there, and you're like a hired merc pretty much. And you go through that first area, take out the thing, and then you go to the city itself. What was the name of it? Midgar. Mako is the stuff. I guess it's the essence of the planet kind of thing. Because the guy Barrett is always going on about the planet's dying, and it's because of Shinra, it's the corporation. They're all these power plant type shits and fucking things, But there's a massive explosion when you blow the thing up. And there's a cutscene where the bad guys, I guess, are watching you, and I think they set the explosion higher so it makes their group look bad. Avalanche, I think they're called, or something like that. And after that, you go to the slums. I mean, people play this shit, right? I guess this one adds, this says it goes deeper into the events occurring in the city deeper than the original game. Now, this game obviously is a remake. Graphically, it looks really good. Once again, all the character models in this look great. It's funny, too, because I was thinking it when I played it, and then I looked it up. But I think it's Biggs. Wedge is the bigger guy. Biggs looks like Charlie Sheen in Platoon. He has the headband on, and he sounds like Charlie Sheen, too, which is crazy. And I looked it up. I'm like, that reminds me of Charlie Sheen from Platoon. And other people were like, yeah, who does this remind you of? I was like, all right. So it looks like everybody's seeing that. But I think you meet Aerith. I guess that's the one. Spoilers. I knew this. Who gets stabbed through by Sephiroth. She popped up briefly, and she sees these weird, like they look like Dementors from Harry Potter. And then you see him as well, because after you blow up the reactor, you're running around the city getting chased by the guards. I guess the Shinra like police or guards, whoever the hell they are, security. But they obviously overhauled the gameplay in this. It's not turn-based now. It's you're running around freely, attacking whoever the hell you want, and you have like meters. So when your little meter goes up, you can now do an ability. Like if your meter isn't fully up, you can't even use an item or anything. You have to wait for it to go up, and sometimes it'll go up too. And then you have your limit break, where it'll do a special move. I said even like the other graphics around it look really nice. Like the slums look really nice. The over kind of part of the city, because the slums are underneath. They built like this shit above. It's like Victorian era kind of looking things. But nice looking game. The combat's fun. Like I like that kind of combat actually. Final Fantasy 15 does it. Stranger of Paradise does it. Final Fantasy 12 I think might have been the first that kind of, not counting the online ones. It was 11 the first online one. I think they might have did a similar combat thing. I could be wrong. But 12 also did the kind of running around the battlefield and shit. But this one, does it. It's nice. He has his Buster sword and he fucking shit up. Some of the voice acting's solid. It's funny. It almost maintains like a similar voice acting style from older games. So the voice acting's good, but the way it comes out is not. It doesn't like flow almost as much as it would in big budget games now. Some of the dialogue's actually kind of funny. Barrett occasionally hums the victory tune. He's like do 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 do, but he keeps going on about Shinra's destroying the planet and shit, and you're like your group is like trying to blow up all these reactors. My friend had played this, and I guess this one he said this one's just, I guess the end of it is like before you go into the huge open world. I was always confused about that. Or not confused, but wondering about that when I was younger, and I'd never played it. I was like, is it just in this city, or is that like a classic Final Fantasy, like overworld? And there is. And if the second part of this is only PlayStation exclusive, I'm absolutely gonna have to get a 5 because I'm really enjoying the shit out of this. You end up using when you go to Slums, you meet Tifa Lockhart. She's I guess an old friend when you're younger. So eventually she's a playable character. Barrett's been a playable character as well. Another guy has shown up when you're on a bike, you're on a motorcycle part, and this guy was at Roche or just Roche. He appears, you fight him. I don't know if he ends up being a playable character, but he's like obsessed. He's like, we got a duel again, and all this shit. I don't know if he pops up again, but mostly I'm just fighting guards and mechs, and I did fight some monsters, like one looked like a seahorse. There's like a queen something or other. I forget their names, but it's a decent variety. Some guard dogs as well. But when you get to the slums, you can do some side shit as well. You're building up your reputation as a merc. You can buy the soundtrack songs, and then when you go into that specific area of the world, it will play. And if you go to a jukebox, you can play darts in the Seventh Heaven bar. I played some darts. It's fun. I really like the fact that this game is modern, but it still has the feel of older games. When you play it, when you're in the slums, it feels very, and I wouldn't even say this is PlayStation 1 because they overhauled the gameplay in this, so it's not turn-based, so it actually has more of a PS2 era type feel to it, which I can appreciate. I like that. While still feeling fresh and new to now, which is great. But, and I know this was reviewed well, and a lot of people actually like this. There's that's Barrett, that's Tifa. I guess that's Aerith. Is that her name, Aerith? I don't know. I don't think she gave her name. You bump into it briefly. And there's Cloud. He's kind of sarcastic, kind of And you get different weapons. Materia is like the stuff you can put into your sword and shit that allows you to do magic. And like Barrett has the gun, so he can shoot like turrets and stuff that are further up. You can stagger the enemy and just start wailing on them. The gameplay's fun. I like that kind of just attacking kind of mode. You still have to have a strategy behind it. You can control the other characters as well. I got my ass kicked a few times when I kind of went in blindly and not focusing on what I should be doing. But it's been fun overall. I've actually really enjoyed it quite a bit. I read it was like maybe 30, 40 hours. So that's nice. I'm kind of like, shit, man. Because I want to see that overworld. I should just play the original, right? I want to get to that, like, other action. And the bad guys are always watching you through cameras and shit. And then you can see, like, story unfold then as well. I don't know if any more other playable characters are going to be in the mix just yet. Sephiroth has appeared because I know there's the backstory. I guess maybe Cloud killed him at some point. Because I guess he was a soldier too, or he fought him. I don't know. Well, I know the character Sephiroth because everybody's like, he's the best Final Fantasy bad guy. I'm like, no. Kafka from 6 is probably the best. But honestly, that's, I think, funny thing about Final Fantasy is it's the one you kind of grew up with or played first, or one of your first ones you played. They really have like an affection for. But he seems cool. Actually, all right so far. You see like visions of him as Cloud, and you're like, what the hell? Kind of alluding that he should be dead, I guess. I could be wrong as well. Like I said, I don't know all the story, and there's only certain things. But he seems cool as a bad guy that I guess isn't necessarily exposed as the bad guy yet. One of them. I guess maybe Shinra, because I think Sephiroth is more of like, I think he was a soldier too, and he was treated like shit or something in the experiment. I don't know. I'm just spitting shit out here. But, that's him actually right there. I said I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying kind of running around the slums and doing like kind of side things, doing missions for people. And the one guy gives me like, what's his name? Chadley, I think his name is. Gave me a thing, so I use that ability, and I can scan the enemies to see their weaknesses. So, like I said, you can use magic and stuff, and that upgrades as well. And you can upgrade your sword, and you kind of like that spear system where you're like, okay, my attack goes up when I do this. You get SP points over time. I can do defense. I can do my weapons thing. I can upgrade my health, and obviously you're leveling up as you go along with experience. Standard RPG affair, but I do like the combat system. I loved it in Final Fantasy 15. And the soundtrack's great. I always liked the soundtrack for this game, even when I didn't play it. Because I'm always into Final Fantasy soundtracks, even the ones I don't play. I always enjoy them. And I heard a lot of them. I heard some before I played Theater Rhythm Final Fantasy, which is actually coming out in February on the PS4 and the Switch. It was originally, I played the shit out of that on 2DS. And so many of the songs, even from the games I haven't played, are like burned into my head. But I guess the soundtrack is revamped as well as in this. I think someone else is actually maybe doing this sound. They're just redoing the ones from the original. It's been very enjoyable so far. It's like one of those games where I'm like, I want to play more of it. I just love I love the new feel of it, while it still maintains an old school feeling as well. It's a nice blend, much like Resident Evil 2 Remake was. And I really appreciate that. I'd love to see them do that with more games, honestly. Especially from like the PS1, even like I would mainly say maybe PS1 and N64 to an extent, but you would see most of that on the Nintendo anyway. But like those PS1 kind of era games, like this and Resident Evil 2 was originally a PlayStation 1 and N64 game, but I mean it was even done with the original Resident Evil when they did the remake on the Cube, and that was awesome as well. But that was more of a graphics overhaul than, they didn't like, in Resident Evil 2 Remake, you can actually run around and stuff, so it's not like, oh, I'm stuck while I shoot, But, yeah. I'm really enjoying this quite a bit. And it's kind of cool. It looks nice when you're in the slums. You're like looking up at the sky and you see the upper part of like the city that was kind of built, and then all the kind of poorer people are down below. I've been in a train system. I've been inside the reactors. It's not a lot. And I was up above ground running around the city a bit a few times. You go and meet Jesse's parents. I guess her dad worked for Shinra. Now he's sick. He's kind of in a bed. He's like kind of comatose or whatever. But I will admit, I like the way it looks, but I would love to see different environments, but I'm pretty sure I'm not going to see much different other than reactors and shit. That's why I'm like, fuck, man. Whenever the Final Fantasy II Remake comes out, it's probably going to be a Sony exclusive. I'm going to have to get it. I'm going to get the PS5 for it because I'm really enjoying this and I'm going to want to see more of it. But yeah, that's just some impressions of this. I'm sure most of you played it. If you were into Final Fantasy back when it came out, I'm sure you played this. I mean, it's not even that old. It was 2020, so it's hopefully old. But yeah, it's just my impression so far of and you're collecting, you're getting chests and stuff. You find chests randomly throughout the game. There's all those side things you can do, like the second part of the reactor thing. I had to stop these fans. I get like a special materia and stuff like that. But yeah, thanks everybody for checking this